How I lost 3.2 pounds in 2 weeks, and you can too with these 3 simple steps. Hi, my name is Mike. I'm 55 years old, overweight, and out of shape. And I created this channel to document my fitness journey and my search for sustainable fitness and better health. Today, I'm going to talk to you about how I was able to lose 3.2 pounds in my first 2 weeks. So first of all, just a little quick preface to my week this week. I actually had an unplanned staycation. So when we talk about some of the things that I did, maybe it won't necessarily seem realistic on an average work week, and it wouldn't be for me either. But I purposely took, it wasn't on the schedule for this week to work. I normally work 12-hour shifts in an emergency department. And typically, if I weren't on the schedule, I would add myself to the schedule for extra. But I didn't this week because I felt like it was important enough to get this thing started, not necessarily the YouTube video as much as just get this fitness program started for myself because I'm just tired of it and I'm ready to get moving. So that's, as you kind of look at this, keep that in mind and we'll talk about it a little bit. But so first up is step one. I'll throw that up on the screen here real quick. Step one is move more. And just a couple quick points about this week. So on the first day, I had, I had to use the Peloton to get my step count to what it was for that first day, just because if you watched last week's episode, I ended up working night shift at the end, and so I was still tired, and there was no way I was going to be able to get my steps where I wanted them to be without getting on the Peloton. And as you can see, I'm on the Peloton right now, which is also a movement hack, if you ask me, not just Peloton, but in general, is multitasking. So I'm recording this video and I'm getting some movement in too. Hopefully it's not too annoying, but I would just recommend trying it at home. If you're going to be on a phone call, maybe pacing in your driveway a little bit or whatever, just get out of the chair, I guess is the main point. So moving on throughout the week, you'll notice there were a few days where I was up in like the 15,000 range in daily steps. And that was a lot to do with just me being at home and doing yard work, outside work, stuff like that. And I think that's going to be typical for most people. You're going to be more active on the weekends. If you are home doing yard work, you're definitely going to be more active. Vacation's probably more active too. So, that wouldn't necessarily be my normal, but that's kind of how it was for this first week. But overall, I'm satisfied with my results. My daily average was 14,000 steps a day, which was higher than my goal of 10,000. So I'm pretty happy with that. I am a little bit concerned about next week, and I might mention again later on in the video, but I'm starting a new job, and it's going to be kind of a sedentary week for me. So we'll see how it goes for next week. But I want to go ahead and move right on to step two, which is eat better, and I'll pop that up on the screen real quick. So overall, for eating better this week, definitely better than what my normal week would be. Again, so second week in a row, I was able to do that. Nothing, I don't think, really, terribly out of the ordinary, other than just a couple things. Since I was home, I did let myself get hungry a little bit more often than what I would be comfortable with if I was like at work or out somewhere, because I was in a controlled environment. So if I need to eat something, I could. Obviously, you don't want to let yourself get hangry because that's when you can stuff yourself. But I would do things like, if I was out working in the yard and I started feeling like I was a little bit hungry, I look at my watch. It's 11:30. I tell myself, well, at 12, I'll go in and make lunch. So just things like that, maybe psychologically help me go a little bit further, and also just get used to being a little bit hungry, because every time you feel a little bit of hunger, you don't necessarily need to start shoveling food in your face, which for me in the past might have been like Reese's cups or something like that. So and my other little tip here is, and I stole this one, but is chew gum. I'm not a big gum chewer, and I'm still not really. I mean, in 2 weeks, I didn't even finish a whole pack of gum. But I'll give you a couple ideas where it's useful, and then obviously give credit to where I stole it from. If you remember back in the day, the show, I mean, it may still be around too, but back when it was popular, The Biggest Loser, probably what, the 2005-ish, in that range, The Biggest Loser. And I have been known to sit in a recliner with a bowl of ice cream or a few beers and watch The Biggest Loser. So anyway, but they recommended them chewing gum. So Here's how I find it useful. One, if you get a sweet tooth, luckily I don't have that problem. I don't get it too often. But because this isn't a minty gum, for me, if I do have a little bit of sweet tooth, that seems to take care of it. So I'm not doing the rescup thing. Another time that it's helpful is if you're just trying to reduce your portion size, kind of like that whole idea of eat 80% of stuffing yourself or 80% of your full, so that you don't overeat, which is a problem for fast eaters like me. So stop short, chew some gum. And if you add an after dinner walk on top of it, both those things will definitely get your steps up and you eating better and less. So benefits there. And then the third time I use it was in those instances where I was starting to feel a little bit of that hunger. I didn't do it every time, but a couple times I was starting to feel a little bit of that hunger and I was going to delay eating for a half hour or an hour, whatever it was, chew a piece of gum. And that kind of helped me get over the hump. And it's just all about controlling your appetite, controlling your hunger. So that is that's step 2. Moving on to step 3, lift heavy things. I will pop that up on the screen. So if you recall in week 1, I didn't. All I worked on was the first 2 steps: move more and eat better. I didn't worry about lifting heavy things. I just didn't want to overwhelm myself. This week out of staycation, I can add another thing in, and so I added in lifting heavy things. Now I'm going to just say this kind of quick spoiler alert about my lifting heavy things for this week. I'm not doing that one again. So for whatever reason, if you were to rewind, pause it, and look at it, write it down, whatever, I'm not doing it again. I'm not doing it again for a couple reasons. First off, I'm not a weightlifter. If you want to be, that's great. But my goal is not to be jacked and tan. My goal is to get in better shape and do something sustainable. That workout, the reason why I used it is because I had it. It was like I have mentioned before, this isn't new to me, trying to get in better shape, trying to lose weight. I just haven't been able to find something sustainable. And I decided 2 weeks ago to start now because the waiting was over. It's time to go. And that's just what I had on hand. So that's what I used. But I have had time since then to research it a little bit. And next week, I'll be kind of implementing a new lift heavy things portion, or at least workout for me, which will be like a circuit of some strength training exercises that I think anybody can do. I'm going to do them with some dumbbells, but you can do them without. And there's different exercises you can fit in there. But I think it's important to do strength training. And I just want to emphasize how important it is real quick by reading a little bit from a study that I found where basically the title of the study was something to the effect of resistance training is medicine. And this was an interesting statistic that I pulled out of it. Those inactive adults lose 3 to 8% of their muscle mass per decade. So if you think about that for a minute, let's say you're a 40-year-old and you're inactive. And so 2 things. One, you're inactive, so you probably don't have the best muscle mass to begin with, And then on top of that, you're going to lose 3 to 8% every decade. So now you're in your 80s and you've maybe almost lost 40% of what wasn't great muscle mass to begin with. And so now we're talking about injuries, falling down, breaking your hip, not being mobile. All of these things are going to be problematic later in life and just not lead to like the happy, healthy lifestyle that I'm looking forward to trying to live. So anyway, that's why I think it's important. So if you're not a weightlifter, don't worry about it. This is not necessarily about lifting weights. And if you're a woman and you're concerned, because I've heard this before from females sometimes, like I don't want to get all muscular. I don't want to bulk up. Nobody's talking about that. At least not on this channel and not yet anyway. What we're talking about is just doing some basic strength training to make sure that you're going to be mobile and without injury in your old age, and also just to maximize your health and fitness. But we're not talking about, bulking up on this channel. There's plenty of channels for that. So that kind of wraps up strength training. So to wrap it up for the week, I lost 1 pound this week. So between the first 2 weeks, 3.2 total. Started at 210.4. I'm down to 207.2 with a goal of 190, at least for the weight loss portion of this journey. And, or I would say at least for the initial weight loss portion of this journey. We'll see once we get there and what other things that I decide to do. But overall, I'm happy with my results. And now my big concern is, okay, staycation's over. You're going into this kind of strange semi-sedentary week next week. How do we plan for that, and how do we handle that? So I'll be happy to share that with you all next week. If any of you have gotten motivated and decided to get up and start doing this with me, drop a comment below and tell me how it's going. Or if you have any questions, feel free there as well. I'd like to hear from you. And lastly, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.